dark as night. Once you've gained the eyes to see, you won't look back on how it used to be. Find your heart, your soul awakes. You realize just what's at stake. Free your mind from all that's fake. Maybe then you'll start to feel awake. Find your heart, your soul awakes. Sometimes you must hurt in order to grow. Realize you free your mind from all that's fake. Maybe then you'll start.
You can't. You gotta have your speakers off, man.
I've left. Is that better?
You can't. You gotta have your speakers off, man.
I've left. Is that better?
You can't. You gotta have your speakers off, man.
As a puppet soul below, savage where you wanna go. With technology, stupid
You can't. You gotta have your speakers off, man.
without your mind control. By your soul. As a puppet soul below, savage.
Okay, welcome to Flat Revival Radio. Give us a few moments here to get situated. Thanks for dropping by. Please hit the like and share. Let's get some people, wait for some people to show up here. Joining us today is going to be Louis Lewis. He's the editor of Flat Revival magazine. How you doing today, Louis?
Not too bad. Glad to be hanging out for sure.
Cool. I know, like, much like me, this is doing a live stream on YouTube. It's probably outside your comfort zone, but
oh man, it's almost having a heart attack.
I was wondering.
Like,
I was wondering about that. You know, as it was getting closer, and I go through the same process. This is something I never in a million years thought I'd be doing. But Flat Earth has that effect. You know, it's something you you feel that strongly about something, and you realize, you know what, feeling a little ill at ease or uncomfortable or maybe afraid that you might look a little silly sometimes, it kind of goes out the window because this thing just matters that much.
Well, it's like, I mean, you need to at one point in your life realize, in order to get any sort of gain out of anything you're doing, you're going to have to get out of whatever comfort zone you've been used to.
Exactly. It's something, I was talking to D. Marvel recently, and he, there was a person, I think his name is Paul, forgive me if that's wrong, but he was at this Seattle meetup, and, you know, he got up in front of, I think it was around 55 people, you know, all flat earthers, and he got up and did some public speaking, you know, which is something he had no interest in doing, and I think we're seeing that happen across the board when it comes to flat earth. People are willing to kind of do things they would have never thought they would be capable of. And I find that to be fascinating.
Do you think, you know, in large part, a lot of the flat earthers, you know, they're reluctant to speak in public. Maybe they have the anxiety that, like you and I do, or because, I mean, a lot of them, you guys talk a lot about feeling isolated your whole life. So you kind of just train yourself to just, I don't know, stay within yourself.
Right.
Because there's no outlet, you know?
Yes.
And it seems like with, you know, the flat earth movement gaining traction, like something I've never seen, people are starting to realize, wait a minute, we do have a support group. You know, we have a magazine coming out. We have, you know, or books coming out on flat Earth, that sort of thing. And so now it's a lot more accepted.
Yes, I think there's, you know, and I think it's just, you know, natural for human beings to feel that comfort in numbers and yeah, I feel like people who have felt that isolation or kind of have closed themselves off in a way to the world because they just don't like what the world is, the driving force behind it. And then all of a sudden there's this flat earth thing hits the scene, and they feel like, oh, this is my jumping in point. This is where all the things I thought I'd never do, like getting on social media and posting, you know, using Twitter and Facebook. These are things I've told you in the past. I'll never do that. You know, I'm not going to do that. And then here I am, you know, posting on Twitter every day of my life. It's kind of crazy.
Man, the amount of times we've sat on the phone for hours bitching about social media, and here we are.
Yeah. Finally a good reason to make use of it. And you know, the massive amount of online saturation across all social media, it's so impressive. Flat earthers, for the number, and it's impossible to pinpoint a number, you know, how many flat earthers are there. I would love to know, but I think for a relatively small group, the productivity is off the charts.
Yeah, the numbers are crazy. I had no idea. Like when you and I began talking about this project, you know, I thought, yeah, the numbers are probably a lot higher than I think, but they can't be that high. And since starting the Flat Revival project, it's become very aware that I was extremely wrong.
Yes.
They're like everywhere. They're just popping up in everything I look at.
The thing that really the first time you run into somebody out in the world just randomly who is like, oh yeah, flat earth, man, they might not be completely on board with it, but they're like, yeah, I'm into that. I've been looking into that, and it's like, okay, this has crossed a threshold at this point.
Right. No, it's a real interesting process, and I think for the majority of, you were talking about it earlier, like, you know, you stay isolated because, I don't know, there's this unnameable feeling that you end up carrying around with you, like there's just something off in the world, and you can't put your finger on it, and something like flat earth comes along, and suddenly that thing that was unnameable now has at least, I don't know, it
has a context.
It has a name.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, wait a minute, that's what I've been looking for.
Right.
You know?
I remember sitting in the theater watching the first Matrix for the first time, and you know, Morpheus is giving his whole spiel about, you've always felt something was slightly off, like a pinprick in your mind, something like that. And yeah. I half expected the movie to like lay that on me, what that was, because I had been feeling it, you know, like you just said, we've been feeling this more or less our whole lives. And of course, in typical Hollywood fashion, it doesn't really deliver any answer. But then Flat Earth comes along, and all of a sudden the correlation between that scene in the Matrix and okay, here's that that once you put this puzzle piece into place, a lot of things begin to make sense.
Well, it's what's real interesting is, you know, you can think about it as a series of train stops. So you have a bunch of people at a bunch of different train stops, and where they get on is ultimately up to them. Like, oh no, this train doesn't feel right, I'm going to catch the next one. So like the jumping off point for a bunch of people, it's wildly different. Like, I mean, I've always read philosophy and always quite existential, but what really gave me that kind of jolt of this may be what I've been carrying around since a child, for me it was the mandala effect, you know.
Right.
And it just triggers something in your mind where, yeah, something definitely isn't right. But I think that's really fascinating that all these people end up marching in the same direction, but they all entered the parade at a different point.
Yeah, exactly. Just real quick before we really dive into the preview of issue number 1, just going to touch on the chat rules real quick. Everyone is welcome. No wrench needed to chat. Needlessly crude comments will be deleted. Needlessly crude chatters will be banned. Wrench Squad, anyone can comment. Use your discernment when deleting and banning someone. Also, anyone that is looking to call in to the show, we will be taking calls after we go through. We're going to hit a bunch of previews and kind of give a sense of what this magazine is all about. After that, we will be taking calls, and I hope that people will take advantage of that. Kind of wanted to kick off, and this is going to seem probably really random to everyone else, but while I've been working on Flat Revival magazine, I've kind of been binge watching this TV series called Halt and Catch Fire, and you and I have talked about this show. I think you've watched at least some of it, and there's something about this show and the characters that kind of gets me fired up. These people are obsessed with making their vision a reality and kind of being uncompromising in the process. And of course, chaos ensues because the corporate world, the big business world, doesn't really do well with people who are uncompromising. And the show just really has fired me up. And
I mean, what other perfect analogy for a lot of artists, you know, that kind of strikes me in a passionate way. Like, it's a metaphor for being an artist almost, you know, having that passion that you're going to go to the ends of the world to, you know.
Right.
Nothing's going to stop you. But that's an intense show. I need to get back on it.
Yeah, and there's this kind of overarching theme of it is create the sickness, sell the cure. And you know, this show is really smart. There's a lot that can be drawn from it if you're into delving into the subtext of film. This show has a lot to be discovered. But this sense of create the sickness, sell the cure, for me now, that statement is so accurate because they have created, when you're talking about a deception like the spinning ball Earth, you know, this thing in outer space, mostly water spinning, and gravity and the whole context of it, you know, it creates such cognitive dissonance because it doesn't match what our senses feel. It doesn't. There are so many things that they don't sync up with reality, and so it's created a kind of sickness in us all because we don't know who we are, we don't know where we've come from, we don't even know where we live.
I think
go ahead.
It seems like, you know, on these bigger, all important questions, most people kind of become deaf and blind to because we're surrounded by, you know, create the sickness, feel the cure everywhere in our world. When you go to the grocery store, everywhere. So, I mean, just like anything, I mean, if you do a ton of drugs, your tolerance is gonna skyrocket.
Sure.
Life or reality is no different. I mean, if we're constantly being bombarded with a bunch of little white lies, it makes the bigger ones easier to swallow.
Right. Yes. And how profitable to create, everybody's feeling this kind of unease, this sickness, if you will, and it's psychological,
Oh,
and we don't know what but
it's
they're constantly selling us the cure. They're making money on it all the time, so I
I
think
mean,
the show's relevant.
yeah, I would fully agree. As nefarious as it is, it's brilliant. It really is.
Right. Yeah, you almost kind of have to give a little nod and say, well,
You do.
it's quite impressive, the scope of it, just the audacity of even thinking you could pull it off.
Absolutely.
It's impressive. All right, that I just wanted to dive into that for a second. Let's get into what this magazine is going to offer readers, shall we?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's kick it off with Flat Earth Smarts. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with this YouTube channel. Adam Carter, very intelligent man. He's dropping a lot of wisdom on his channel, and I love his presentation. It's calm, collected, and intelligent. This is a little snippet from his. He's going to have an ongoing column in the magazine. Really happy to have him on board. So it says, at first, it's exciting. We think we've discovered something special, something secret. Yes, I know there are people who claim that we only do this because we think we are better than others, and to that, I pay no attention. Anyone who has gotten this far has not done so without some resistance along the way. Who, in their right mind, would even consider such a profoundly stupid and primitive idea as a means to show that they are special? No, most flat earthers would have run a mile from this subject but for the fact that it has a ring of truth, and they had the courage to push on through all the noise and find out for themselves. Adam Carter. So
I like that section.
yeah, I think it really touches on something. It's something that I've seen pop up a lot lately, actually, is this kind of, well, they're just doing it so they will feel special. I've seen it on many, big channels. It's kind of their leading, this is why they're doing it, because they want to feel unique and special. And it's so empty. It's laughable to me that it would even be presented, because when you step up and say you're a flat earther, it brings nothing but, it kind of brings nothing but tension and conflict in your life. So
I mean, you could even argue the opposite. I mean, if once you uncover, this massive lie, I mean, to me, it feels like you're bringing everybody down to the same level. Where everybody has to figure everything out all over again, because everything they know has been a lie. So, I mean, you could argue the opposite. I don't know how valid of an argument that is, but yeah, there's something in our culture that wants to keep us feeling sheepish, and I don't necessarily think we're special, but we're not as insignificant as microscopic dots in an ever expanding universe, with no escape.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, Flat Earth Smart, he's got a unique concept he's bringing to the table. What he presents on his YouTube channel is more or less his Flat Earth Smarts, and what he would like to do with his column is open it up a little bit so people can kind of submit their own Flat Earth Smarts. And I think that's a really interesting concept. I'm curious how it's going to work out. I hope people will step up to the plate and deliver their own flat earth smarts to the column. I think it's a great concept, and I think it's pretty bold of him to attempt it.
And yeah, that's going to be a great little modality if it's utilized. I mean, I'm sure we're going to end up touching on this at some point, but I mean, this magazine is for flat earthers. You know, it's not.
Yes,
I mean, it's not like you and I are making a single cent on this. You know, we're doing it because we're passionate about it
exactly.
and passionate about giving the magazine to the people it belongs to.
Exactly. And it's all about participation. Or will the community step up to the plate? Will people submit? Will people open up and start sharing? And I think as we move forward, I think that more and more people are going to realize that, yeah, I can step up to the plate. I have something to offer to this. And the magazine, I really want it to be a blank canvas for people.
Yeah, that is the best thing. It's gonna make for wildly good entertainment, information, um, and it's just creating a stronger fabric for the community.
Yes. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to holding something in my hands that's exclusively flat Earth, mindset. I'm excited about that. All right, so we're gonna move on. Next up, Spiritual North was gracious enough to agree to an interview, and I've got to tell you, Spiritual North is the author of Flatlandia. It's a digital offering. It's available on Amazon. This thing is a wealth of information. It has, through the body of the content, he's linked to an incredible amount of resources. So it's an interactive experience. If you go through Flatlandia and take advantage of all the links, I mean, you've got this colossal amount of great foundational flat Earth information. So really happy to have him in the.
I'm excited to check that out. I'm kind of a newcomer. I'm playing catch up information wise, but yeah, you talked about him quite a bit with me.
Yeah. So here's a little snippet from his, and I gotta say, they were in-depth questions. I sent 5 questions. I think one of them maybe had 2 parts. And when I sent him, he initially got back to me and said he had me the answers in 20 days, and it kind of took me aback. Like, it's 5 questions. But when I actually when I actually received his answers, I understood. I think Spiritual North is a creative individual who he doesn't enter into anything lightly. And what he sent back was so thoughtful and in depth. I was blown away. So I understood why he said it'll be 20 days. It was pretty cool. So here we go. If Flat Earth were a new product in the market, it would be termed a disruptor. Disruptor products are things like Uber, which nearly ended the taxi industry, or Napster, which practically bankrupted the music industry. Nowadays, if you ask an average bloke about the shape of the earth, they may say, so what? Square, pancake, sphere, who gives a shit? So with that said, the way Flat Earth conveys its edginess is by exploring the implications that come along with it in the variety of sectors it affects: social, spiritual, economic, legal, geographic, political, etc. Flat Earth, through a myriad of channels, disrupts many things at once. The thing about disruptors like Uber and Napster is that they aren't bad. They ultimately improve the protocol for the game. For example, along came iTunes and other music download platforms, and along came Lyft with a more affordable ride sharing. Perhaps Flat Earth, as a sort of socio-cultural and cosmological disruptor can affect these various sectors concurrently, create improvement, and up the value of the user experience. Spiritual North. So I think, yeah, I think this concept of flat Earth as a disruptor is, I thought it was fascinating, and it's just the way his mind works, the way he comes at things is a little bit different, and he always brings something a little bit, something new to light, and I think I tend to agree that flat Earth is going to challenge the status quo and ultimately improve what we can expect, in terms of knowledge, in terms of a lot of things.
Right, and it's the same idea as kind of like growing pains. It's like, well, maybe at first this is gonna hurt, but in the long run, watch the improvement.
Exactly. Yeah, you nailed it. I that's the point I think I wanted to make too, is that yeah, a disruptor might cause a little bit of discomfort initially. It's going to happen. But the shakeup is it's required. We need it. We're at that point where things are going to have to be shaken up before they get better. And flat Earth is something that has the potential to do it.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to delve into this guy and read his stuff.
Yeah,
There's a good feel about him.
yeah. And he's offering he's reading chapters from Flatlandia on his YouTube channel. I'm not sure what channel he's up to now, um, but it's really good stuff. I recommend everyone check it out. Okay, next up, Rusted Soul. She was a participant in the first Flat Earth art show, Globe Exit, hosted by Infinite Plane Society. Um, the event was quite something. It was really impressive to see all the work and creativity that came together for that little show. And she was gracious enough to send some words along. This is a little snippet. I see flat Earth as a muscle beach for intellectuals. That's the aspect that drew me in a little over 2 years ago now. I have a similar story to many other flat earthers out there. My cognitive dissonance kept me from looking into FE for several months. I had to get that in there because I love that phrase. Uh, Once I decided to embrace the possibility of an alternative cosmology, it only took a couple days immersing myself in the worlds of Mark Sargent, Eric Dubay, Wakey Wakey, and John Laban before I was talking with friends and family about it and posting on Facebook. I was shocked at how much disrespect, even hate, I received. I was under the impression these people were open-minded, like we all claim to be, but words and actions can be separated by a wall of ego we build up over time, similar to our defense mechanism that automatically shoots down new paradigms of thought when our intelligence is threatened. That's why I call this topic the ego destroyer. Once you realize the more you learn, the less you know, a sense of genuine cognitive harmony takes over. Now I feel at peace not knowing, and most likely never knowing, Earth's true shape or size. Rusted Soul. At first, I've got to comment on this piece she did for the art show. It looks like a repurposed gumball machine of some kind. There's a lot of layers going on here. You've got Darth Vader on top, who would represent Empire. And these are the champions of the globe cosmology, and I just think it's a really innovative, interesting piece. It's a repurposed thing.
It's interesting. It's a gumball too. I mean,
Yeah.
who eats gumballs? Children do.
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
it's an easy sell.
yeah, you can start layering it with all these metaphoric meanings. I think whether it was intended, I'm sure it was, but it's there, and you can really start peeling back the layers on this one, and I think it's really fun. She contributed a bunch of work to the show, from articles of clothing to things like this. It was really impressive.
And it's hard to even really comment on her words too, because I mean, even somebody coming from a different direction, um, that's applicable in so many different aspects. That she's 100% right. She almost just, how do you add to a thought like that?
Right. Yeah. I think it's completely genuine. It's from the heart, and I it's fascinating to me just how many artists are drawn to flat Earth. I There seems to be it seems to be a correlation, you know, for sure.
Right. I think inherently artists. I mean, in order to be successful, and when I mean successful, purely to yourself as an artist, um, you you have to learn how to keep an open mind. They do have more imagination that allows them to say, yeah, maybe I'm going to look into that, instead of right off the bat cutting it off, saying, nope, there's no way.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's good stuff. So I'm happy to have her part of the first issue. It's great. Moving forward, we've got Crow 77. He's Most people are well aware of Crow's work. He started filming really high quality footage of the moon and sun. Delved into chemtrails quite a bit. Um, I, he's one of the earliest people I kind of tune into after. I don't even know if I hit flat Earth entirely yet when I started watching. I got wind of his lunar wave, um, and he's transitioned to doing a kind of a talk radio show, and he delves into topics on a level that's it's pretty much above and beyond most of what you're going to find. And I couldn't be happier that he's involved with this project and was willing to take the time to submit work. He has an ongoing column, and anyone who hasn't subscribed to his radio show, I recommend it. You get a lot of extra content, and these guys, they do so many hours of research and break it down for you. It's really a high value thing. So let me read this little snippet here. It is indeed one hell of a day when you realize you can see too far into the distance for the curvature model of our world to be true. By the same token, realizing that space agencies seem to exist to ensure you know nothing about what is above the blue sky is no less jarring. Over time, it is possible to come to grips with these things, as I have. But then, the big questions, once thought answered, become relevant in a way never before imagined. What is this place where we all exist? Where are we in the larger scope of things? What is space? What are the lights we see at night, and how far away are they actually? How did this place we call Earth get here? There you go.
I'm excited for his column.
Yeah, and I've got to tell you, this is a little bit of a side note, but Crow's one of the most professional people I've ever worked with. He is on top. It, Anything he commits to, he's going to do it right. He's not like most of us. He's not going to procrastinate. He's not going to let things get uh, out of his control. I really admire his work ethic and his dedication
You
to
know,
what he does.
I with what you and I were doing when we met, working in the whole journalism field, that's a rarity. We both know that.
Yeah, 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 I mean, I'm sitting here um, sweating bullets over producing my pieces for the magazine, and this guy's like, I'm already halfway through my second column. I'm like, man,
That's
Crow, you're making me look
and
bad, dude.
yeah, and what did you and I do? We talk to each other about how we need to stop procrastinating.
Exactly. Yeah, we could
Uh,
we could all learn a thing or two from him, but he's going to be delivering really in-depth, thought-provoking pieces, and really grateful that he's joined the team. All right, moving on. Let's see. Actually, want to do this first. Polly Hart recently finished a new book, um, My Flat Earth, and we are going to be running a segment called Writing the Book. Here's a little snippet. My flat earth is the outcome of myself and 17 others sitting down in front of a mirror and telling ourselves that it's all right to go public with the truth. That is reasonable and good to share the truth of what the Bible says about the top, bottom, and middle of this tiny universe. I asked the contributors to give their testimony of who, what, why, when, and how they came to believe in both the Hebrew model of the earth as well as the scriptures that talk about it. Did one specifically come before the other? How did that work? What did that process look like? Polly Hart. Um, I'm really interested in reading through these testimonies. I love that he got so many people together, and um, I think there's going to be a lot of different perspectives and heartfelt testimonies about what this means to these people. And I think you and I both were not necessarily approaching this from a biblical perspective, you know,
right.
but there's no question that that plays a major role in the flat Earth community. It's ever present, and
Yes.
however you feel about it, it's there. And I want this magazine to. It's not about my personal opinion or where I'm at as an individual. I want the pages of the magazine to transcend any one person's perspective on things. It should be it should be a slice of what flat Earth is altogether.
Yeah, and like you said, from all different perspectives, that kind of thing can only help. If the people engaged in it are engaged in it for the right reasons.
Yes. Yeah, and
Like,
it's challenging as someone who's I'm the publisher of the magazine, and it's you have to step back and say, okay, this isn't necessarily how I approach it or my thoughts on this particular subject, but that's okay. It should be expressed. You know, the more ideas in the pot, the stronger we're all going to be.
right, and this falls back on what we talked about earlier. Um, this isn't a Thai project. This isn't a Louis project. This is everyone else's project. So everybody should have the chance to express their views and share with other people. And if you do that open-mindedly, it's going to bring about something great.
Yeah.
The common denominator is just that. It's a common denominator. Um, you happen to,
Do the math a little bit differently, and still come up with the same sum. I mean, I think overarchingly, that's the most important thing is everybody's fighting for the exact same thing. Like this is kind of this is an area where the details aren't really, or, you know, the devil isn't really in the details here. You know, it's that end game, I think, that needs to be focused.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you know, it's the idea of the spirituality of it. You know, I have to admit, I have a lot of work to do on that side of the fence, personally, and
Likewise.
you know, I respect what, you know, that I do think the Bible has a role to play. I think that there are many truths in it, and you know, it's just something. It has to, you know, it's going to be in the mix, and it's whether you're on board with the Bible or, you know, quote unquote religion. I think the idea that this place is created or designed, once if you come to the flat Earth realization, if you embrace that, it's almost inevitable that you're going to conclude there's some kind of design aspect here, and
Right.
it's, you know, I need to do a lot of mental work on that aspect for myself.
And just acknowledging it. I mean, you and I have talked about other things along this vein, but something never gets that big without something in the background. You know what I mean? I mean, there's truth in everything.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah, it is inevitable.
Indeed.
That's going to be it's really exciting for me because, like I said, we're kind of apart from that direction. But
Yes. Yeah. Polly Hart is also going to be providing Flat Revival with an exclusive science fiction ongoing series called the SRO. Um, it was really interesting. I approached Polly to, you know, I've found out he had a new book coming out, and I approached him about that and asked him if he wanted to write a piece about it. And then just, I can't remember how it came about, but, you know, I let him know that we're interested in some fiction, specifically science fiction, and he said, I've already got something kind of planned out. I have the framework there, and boom, there it was. So Polly's going to be giving us a flat Earth themed science fiction series, new installment in every issue. And here's a little summary of the plot line. Abilene took to the job not knowing what she should expect. Playing the housekeeper at an isolated science station didn't sound too appealing until she glimpsed the generous paydays. Now she's 100 miles above the Earth and witness to a secret that could blow the lid off the status quo of every world government. At the same time, during a routine mission, an Antarctic researcher loses control of his craft and gets sucked into an inexplicable chasm in the midst of icy desolation. With no way out, he is forced to dive headlong into danger, knowing that any moment could be his last. Secrets lay at the bottom of the ice, but will he survive long enough to warn others of what he's found? Join author Polly Hart as he dives headlong into the very near future where the flat Earth is a reality in the mind, but a crime in the court. There is an underground army growing. Will they survive long enough to bring about the change the world so desperately needs? So it's
very nice.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's one of the earliest things when I started thinking about the magazine, and it would be great to have a science fiction series with the flat Earth theme, and the way it came about couldn't be better.
We're gonna get, I think, a really nice eclectic mix of science fiction. I haven't had a chance to talk to you about this. I mean, I've had people that I personally know happen to see like something I reposted from you or, you know, for the magazine, and I've had non-flat earthers come up to me and send me emails saying, I'm not a flat earther, but I can write science fiction, with flat earth in mind. And, they're just totally excited about it. So, I mean, you even have people outside the community wanting to contribute, because it's an interesting topic, which is really cool.
That kind of, I have to say, that kind of blew my mind when you told me about that. I guess it was unexpected. Just the idea that someone who hadn't either fully embraced it or maybe hadn't even looked into it all that much was kind of saw the creative potential, or at least that it was worth exploring in that light. And that kind of took me off guard. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's neat to see an excitement for something just because there's a creative aspect or kind of a movement aspect to it, But yeah, I was taken a little back to it. They approached me and like, well, yeah, okay, so here are little guidelines I'd give you. And what I've gotten so far is pretty, there's some cool ones. So
very nice. Very nice. Next, we're going to drop into the cover story, The Hypnotic Dogma of Scientism. And first off, the artwork for this article is done by Zetetic Mindset. He was another contributor to the Flat Earth Art Show, Globe Exit. His pieces just instantly resonated with me, so much so that I had to buy one while I was watching the live stream of the show. I just think there's something iconic about these images that he's created, and there's 5 in total. All of them will be in the magazine, and of course he's also featured on the cover, Einstein. I just felt like getting the zombie head Hypno Einstein on the cover was something that might even grab the attention of people who weren't into Flat Earth. They might be intrigued enough to check it out.
If I was at a coffee shop or something and I had no idea about this community and I passed that cover, I would certainly be grabbing it. It's intriguing.
Exactly. And I hope that's the case. I hope people dig it. For me, admittedly, it's really far removed from what I suppose I envisioned for the first cover, which it probably was conceived more like a warm, sloppy hug, a flat earth embrace or something really warm and inviting. And this has an edge to it, but it just felt right, and I'm pretty happy with how it came out. And thank you to Zetetic Mindset for offering up these pieces. So let's I'm gonna drop into a little snippet here. Science fiction has always been presented as a window onto future possibilities. No matter how improbable the technological wonders or how fantastical the worlds, the sci-fi of my youth and most of my adulthood held kernels of widely accepted truth, all enthusiastically upheld by a worldwide scientific community. Here are just a few of these ideas promoted as truth. Billions of planets exist, and some very small percent of those distant orbs could be capable of sustaining life. Humanity will one day be able to not only travel to these new worlds, but claim them. And there is mathematical certainty that somewhere out there, tucked between vast folds of darkness and chance, alien life exists. Across our lifetimes, there have been celebrity figures charged with reinforcing the foundation of belief regarding the universe and the thrilling notion that our species will conquer outer space the same way we have conquered the wilds of Earth. These figures are presented as the pinnacle of human intelligence, The flames of their intellectual stature are fanned incessantly whenever they are paraded before the public. They are the learned ones, the wrestlers of mathematical thought magic, surely philosophical prophets of the modern age. They are scientists, so-called. These men, raised up onto lofty pedestals by nothing less than a groveling, sycophantic media, lied to us when we were children, and they continue to lie to us now, even in the face of our waking to the dream of their impossible reality. So yeah, that's I think these figures have been cleverly crafted. I think that the priests of scientism, or each one appeals to a different type of person, a different personality, and they cast a wide net. You know, they want to catch everyone, and they're going to give a personality that appeals to you. And I find that quite fascinating.
Yeah, they're pretty thorough with it. You know, yeah, like that, all demographics are covered.
Exactly.
Again, brilliant, but man.
Yeah. I think it is an interesting thing, and I kind of just wanted to give something that's really nagged at me, or just kind of annoyed me as of late, is just how much the media and journalists, whenever these scientism figures are invited to do a show, or they're in some kind of public arena, it's amazing to me how much the media just kind of bows to their superiority, their intellectual.
I mean,
it blows my mind.
Well, I mean, how couldn't you do that? I mean, even though you don't understand anything they're saying, it's science.
Right.
I mean, what does that mean? I don't know. I mean, there's more belief in the general population of science than anything to do with that. You know, I mean,
exactly.
Science is a belief system.
That's what it's become.
Faith-based.
Exactly. Yeah. And I just wanted to show this. This was something I found recently, and I think it demonstrates this mentality of how even highly decorated journalists kind of they celebrate these people on a level that it almost seems it's embarrassing to me, and as of late it actually makes me a little sick.
Well, especially going along with the media. I mean, if they do anything else right now in our culture, I mean, that's career suicide.
Right.
So even if they want to, I mean, this is their careers. So I don't know. That is kind of a tough spot to be in, I think.
Sure. I guess what appalls me is just the universal kowtowing to these figures, as if there's no if they're in the room, they are the smartest people in the room. No questions asked, and anything they say has to be basically taken as gospel. So I'm going to play a little clip of it that just kind of embodies this concept.
That's a nice welcome. Thank you. I'll pretend that was for me.
But you've won 2 Pulitzer Prizes. I should be interviewing you.
Oh, well,
okay, Amy Hartman here. Yeah.
So, a friend of mine told me when I posted on Facebook that I was going to be interviewing Neil deGrasse Tyson, and a friend of mine told me that her 15-year-old son's response was, "Oh my God, really? A little piece of my heart just exploded." So I just
a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know.
In a good way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we don't really need to see more of that. This is like he said. It's a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. She's acting like a 14-year-old Beatles fan, right? I mean, who do you think is actually more intelligent in this equation?
Sure.
You know, and I don't. It's probably in part due to the celebrity factor. I don't know, but it seems like if you're a journalist and you're going to interact with any of these scientism talking heads, this is the stance you take. You put yourself below them. You make sure that they are always above you when it comes to intelligence, and they have the answers, and you can only hope to understand.
And let's make an exception for journalists.
Hold on, you seem to be breaking up there.
We good now?
Yeah, you're good.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I just wanted to show that. And there's another thing about Flat Earth that continually surprises me, and that's the sense of humor. I think Flat Earthers have an abundance of humor. You kind of have to. If you're gonna take this on and express it openly, publicly, you better have a sense of humor about it, you know. And Flat Revival is certainly going to express humor wherever it can. We've got some great artists and thinkers bringing content to the table. Conev Art, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with his work. He's doing some really great stuff. He's doing an ongoing comic series, full page, for the magazine. This is just one little frame. The series is called Johnny Flat Earth, and yeah, we're gonna see some great stuff from him. He's also. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm just super excited about the comics.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it was really. He was one of the people I'd seen him on Facebook quite a few times, and I really wanted. I made a note. I have to reach out to this artist, and sure enough, I got an email. He got in touch with me first, and it just kind of blew me away. I'm like, wow, you were the guy I was going to reach out to, so I'm really happy to have him on board. He's working on some other really great projects, a Flat Earth children's book with Eric Dubay, and I believe he's illustrating a book of poetry as well. So he's very busy. He's giving of his talents, for sure. And then a recent addition here is Peter Lexa. I feel like he's on a New Yorker level, kind of. His illustrations are so smart. Postcards from New Fepe Land. Anyone who's a fan of the Penguin and the Wrench Squad and that entire concept, he's doing some of the smartest stuff I've seen to date with that.
I fully agree. That the second I opened the submission, I was like, oh, this guy's got to be in here. Like, it was that quick.
Yeah, exactly. I think we were both instantly kind of smitten with his work, and
yeah,
really happy. I think I only recently started to see some of his stuff pop up, but I was really happy he got in touch with us. Yeah, we're definitely gonna keep him on board for as long as we can. Let's see. I've got an interview with D Marble going in the magazine. The focus is on Flat Earth meetups, the importance of he's become a real champion of meetups. The photo you're looking at is from the Seattle meetup that he organized. As you can see, really impressive turnout, and I kind of came up with this. He's got this flat Earth kind of hand arm gesture that he's popularized. I think it's really fun. So I came up with this little tagline: "When in doubt, stick your elbow out." And hopefully Daryl hopefully Daryl doesn't mind. But there's something about this. I don't know, just having something you could do. Like, say you're in a public, crowded space, and you're just like, I'm gonna stick my elbow out. Hey, let's just see what happens. I mean, who knows? It could become a way of, finding in crowds. Like, hey, just stick that elbow out.
That's gonna turn into this huge, like, covert thing. Like, hey, he's one of us. He's cool.
Oh
man, that's great.
Yeah, he brings so much positivity, and he transcends all the nonsense really well. And not to mention, he's bringing strong experiments to the table. This guy's he's doing some great stuff, and we're really lucky to have him in the community. Okay, I want to announce officially the contest has concluded. We do have a winner, Ed Ulashak. Really apologize if I butchered that. He sent us some. It's another comic artist, just phenomenal, really funny stuff. I didn't want to just show what the winning entry here. It'll be in the magazine. He earned it. Really good stuff. He's going to receive publication, of course, and 2 really awesome t-shirt designs of his choice from the entire library at flatearthmerch.com. Flat Earth Merch is doing really innovative, fun flat Earth designs. You wear these T-shirts out, you're gonna start some conversations.
And it's cool in the future, because I mean we're wanting to do biannually or an annual contest like this, and the more people start submitting, the cooler the prizes are, and there's going to be a better chance to partner, with people, it's just, everything is going to get better the more people that come on board, I mean, it's going to be fun.
Agreed. I also wanted to mention real quickly that Flat Earth Merch he's got a lot of these stickers that he's produced, and we're going to be giving the first 100 issues of FRM that go out, you're going to be getting one of these stickers on the screen right now. Again, that's directly from flatearthmerch.com. He's really become kind of the official sponsor of the magazine, if there could be such a thing, and really happy to be partnered with him, and he's doing good stuff.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Let's see. The big thing I wanted to touch on as well. That kind of wraps up our preview. That by no means is everything that's going to be in the magazine, but it gives you a really solid idea of what the content will be, what it's going to be like, and
sorry about that.
No problem. And
finger cut out.
I think the thing I want to touch on is, the submissions to Flat Earth Magazine. We live in this world where we have phenomenal entertainment, right? When you look at film and music and television and video games, there are these massive kind of corporate entities that are able to leverage huge amounts of revenue and resources to produce entertainment on a level that, I mean, we have to admit, the entertainment that is projected at us, that is sold to us, it's it's off the charts. Blockbuster film or video game. The quality, the the amount of work and man hours that goes into producing these things is incredible. But it comes, in my mind, it comes at a fairly steep price, because all of that entertainment, all of the stuff coming out of that arena with the big dollars behind it, they all have this kind of, there's kind of a universal theme there, I think. And it's one of desolation, violence. I mean, there's an obsession with violence in this culture that is, I think we've been immersed in it so long, we've kind of simmered in it so long that it doesn't, it's almost like it's invisible to us. But
Well, that can be, that's inarguable. You know, it's just more the desensitization. I mean, go look at certain movies in the 80s that were rated R versus what's PG-13 now. You know,
right.
I mean, it's wildly different. It's because we're becoming numb to it. Exactly what you just said.
Yes. Hold on. Crow, are you there? Okay. I've never tried to have more than one person in on a call. Are you still there, Louis?
Yeah.
Okay. Crow, we'll wrap this up in a jiffy, and I'd love to have you call in, man. Let me just wrap this up real quick, and please call back in. Basically, what I wanted to say is, you know, it's going, at some point it will be up to we're going to have to wean ourselves off of these entertainment juggernauts. We're going to have to start producing our own engagement, because the price of admission for the blockbusters, for the top tier entertainment in any medium, I don't care what it is it's going to have the themes that are ever present, those themes of violence, those apocalyptic ideas, those, you know, the heliocentric model, of course, is always there. All of that propaganda, it's ever present, and this is the price we pay for that entertainment. At some point we have to say no. We have to kill our addiction to it and realize we need to start producing our own. And while Flat Revival Magazine isn't a blockbuster movie, or it's not a AAA video game, it is an entry into the field of, you know, entertainment, of creativity, of something that can engage people. And we need...
You know, again, I
Go ahead.
Yeah, like, you know, you have all that, but not even to mention the experience of actually holding something that you know is real. It's in your hand. You can feel it. You can smell the pages.
Yeah.
You know, whereas all this other entertainment, it's life by proxy. You know, you're not engaging at all. You're just sitting there.
Right.
You know, so I mean, I think the tangibility aspect, I'm a bit old school about that, but that's an important aspect for a full experience.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to invite people to, this is your canvas. This is our thing. You know, it's the first of many. And we're going to start making our own films. We're going to start producing our own video games. This is going to happen. And we have to do that, because we're sick of the messages. We're sick of the themes that are being pushed on us. Yeah, it's really slick stuff. It's really mind-blowing. It's, you know, it's bigger than life stuff. But flat earthers are going to have to start producing their own. We're going to have to bring all of our talent and skills to the table and start entertaining ourselves, and just start saying no to the rest of the garbage. And that's For me,
Right.
I'm not saying that's easy because I'm an addict too. I mean, how did I start this show? I was talking about Halt and Catch Fire. Mainstream propaganda.
Right. Right.
But we're gonna have to start producing our own stuff. I think that's and I just invite everyone to take advantage of this platform. Get creative. Let your passion loose. Submit your stuff. flatrevival@gmail.com. Get us your material. Show us what you've got. Let's start engaging each other. And the more we do that, the less we'll need their stuff.
Exactly. Well put.
Sweet, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and doing this with me. I really apologize. I think through a portion of the beginning, your audio was low. I had turned down the audio for the music, and I'm not sure if people could hear you clearly at the start. I apologize for that, everyone. I'm not sure how bad it was. It's hard to keep tabs on everything when you're engaging a live show like this. So hopefully it wasn't too bad, and we got it taken care of. So thank you, Louis.
Yeah, anytime, man. I had a great time.
I did too. I think it was good. And I'm going to get off here with you, and hopefully we can get Crow and some other people to call in here.
Perfect, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Crow.
Hey, man, what's going on?
Hey. Not a lot, man. I really appreciate you hanging out and being here for this. Always good.
Hold on here, man. I'm trying to adjust the audio. I think I got to stop the YouTube thing while I'm doing this.
Yes, that was happening to me too. I'm still learning a bit. Obviously, there were a couple hiccups in this live stream, but we figure it out. We keep it going.
Yeah, that's better. I just paused the stream, so now it's pretty clear. So what's shaking, man?
Hey, I'm in it. I'm in the fire. I'm cranking out, trying to get this thing done. A lot of great content, good stuff. It's hard to balance. You know how it is. I have a day job. It's pretty demanding at times, and I jumped into this thing knowing it was going to be a colossal effort, and I didn't let myself be afraid of that. But here we are, and now I'm under the guy. I thrive on it's cool. I like the all-nighters, and when it's something you care about, it doesn't matter.
Well, I'll tell you what, when I heard from you, I'm always interested in things that are new, and this is new. And not only is it new, you're going to put out a tangible object in a time when this type of tangible object is going away. I mean, what do we got? National Geographic and a few political mags, us and People, and that's about it.
Right.
TV Guide barely makes anymore. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. But I would point out, observation is not going away in the information age. And a lot of what I think will interest people in what you're about to purvey here is they can go out and they can observe. And once you observe certain things, there's no going back to I Love Lucy and The Simpsons. There just isn't.
Exactly. And, I'm sure we've talked about this before, and it's a kind of a tired cliche, but the kid who comes to the realization that Santa Claus isn't real, he's never going to go back to that. You can't. Once it's done, it's done. It's a one-time deal.
That's a good point, but I mean, consider the ramifications of even just teaching a kid that there is a Santa Claus. I mean, at some point that kid grows up, realizes he's been lied to, and then in the paradigm of Western culture, he grows up, has kids, and he starts the cycle all over again by lying to his children.
Yeah.
In many ways, I think that what you're doing here, I mean, if we have a prayer in hell under the current situation we see which is worldwide at this point, if we can get over that hump, this place is going to change. It's going to change in ways people can't even imagine. It often looks like the deck is heavily stacked against us, but at the same time, the information age isn't going away. But as my last episode pointed out, the information wars are heating up now, so it'll be one hell of a ride.
Well, and I think I've written on this in the past somewhere or other, but when I hear the term information age, I've done this breakdown of the difference between information and knowledge. Now,
Good point.
Knowledge can always be information, but information is not always knowledge. Sometimes it's just nonsense. And
Well, I would point out, in the age we live in, most information is nonsense. We live in a paradigm right now, and it was a paradigm created by people with an agenda. And unfortunately, things like corporation and other fictions, mechanisms, devices have really stacked the deck against us. But the point here is, back in the 60s, so many people were so proud that we went to the moon, but all they had to go on was what the television showed them. They couldn't record it. They were only shown what they were intended to be shown. And we've come a long way from there. I mean, we can review stuff endlessly now, and I think that really makes a difference. So even if we really do start to go down this road that it looks like places like YouTube want to go, where the corporations are trying to put an iron fist around information exchange, the ability of people to review information is not going anywhere.
No. And that is, of course, it's completely changed the game, and it's, there's this interesting, every once in a while I get this kind of, man, it would have been nice if my parents could have dropped a little wisdom on me, or given me a little heads up about what I was getting into here with this world. But I have to remember, just like you're saying, our parents, they really only had they had a one-shot look at any one thing. If it was the moon landing,
That's right.
They saw it on TV, and it was one time. And it was from what they were told were highly trusted, respectable sources. They had no reason to question it. So to harbor any animosity toward our parents or our guardians for not being able to let us know about this, I really just have to let it go. We've got to move forward. It's up to us now to make sure that it doesn't happen to the next generation.
Well, you make a hell of a good point here, but I would broaden that a bit. Your parents were victims. You got to realize that, I don't know how old you are, but my parents, the most trusted man in America back in the day we're referring to, was Walter Cronkite. He's the man who told us Kennedy just got assassinated, and he's also the man that told us that we just landed on the moon. Most trusted man in America. What you're looking at is victims, and I would broaden that out a bit. Even people who are not even going to consider any ideas from flat Earth or infinite plane or any of the things that are bubbling to the surface now, those people are victims too. It's a bit like the Buddhist idea of samsara, where we're all here suffering. And there's nothing we can do about it to some degree, and we're all in the same boat. Yeah. If you take that kind of Eastern philosophy and blow it open to what's going on now, you've got to understand, when you're across the table from your parents, your grandparents, or someone else who doesn't quite get it, you're looking at a victim.
Right. What are you, I mean, I'm sure you have some kind of thought or plan about, in terms of the censorship that's taking on with YouTube. I mean, you just did a recent episode with Jungle Surfer, going over this. As I understand it, he's basically been, they're not going to let him continue on YouTube. I mean, more or less. And how are you combating that?
I've conducted myself in the same way from the first day that I launched YouTube. I don't fight with people. I don't down people. I don't do any of that. I just try to put out what I think is as good as I can do at the time. In terms of what YouTube does, we don't have any control over that. We can kick against the wall while we've got an opportunity to kick against the wall, which is what I'm doing now. But the whole idea behind crow777radio.com was to remove myself from the aegises of Google. And in some ways that's worked, but you've got to realize I don't remember the name of the corporation, Windmere or Wind something, which is one of the biggest ISPs in the United States, and they control a crap load of search engines. If you go to places like Alta Vista and other major search engines and put crow777radio.com in there, it'll tell you the site doesn't exist. So even though I've got the plan to have my private site and break away, these people are going to do what they can. But you see, the problem here is word of mouth. I may not always be right. I may not be a lot of things, but I do the best I can. And I think there's a lot of people out there who kind of appreciate that. So even if we get to a point where they're going to screw us through search engines, which has been going on, I mean, I can see in my stats exactly where my traffic started to be affected, and that's when I started to understand what was going on with search returns and this kind of thing. But the point is the word of mouth is out there. And part of the problem now is you meet a lot of people that will say, you know, I've come all this way and I know all these things now, or I think I know all these things now, but I can't even talk to my cousin or my best friend or my wife. If I bring it up, it starts a fight. And that's kind of where we are right now, just at the first edge of that roller coaster. That roller coaster has gotten to the top of the mountain. Everybody's up there with their gut kind of has butterflies in it. We're about to go down that slide.
Yeah.
Changes in the wind. So I can't tell you how this is going to shake out, but for my part, I'll do what I've always done. I'll do the best I can. I'll try to provide the content from a private site. And the truth is, we just really don't have control over what these damn corporations are going to do. But these dead entities are going to be the death of us if people don't start to stand up against it.
Yeah. And what do you think that looks like when you say stand up against it? Are you talking about how we spend dollars? Are you talking about some kind of actual activism, physical activism? Are you talking, how do you define stand up against?
In my view, a big part of how we came to be in the trouble we're in right now was people's minds were swayed. They were swayed by media. They were swayed by governments. They were swayed by Star Trek. They were swayed by any number of things you can point to. Matter of fact, almost anything you can point to in the current system has swayed the mindset. And that has made the prison that we kind of find ourselves in. So if you break it down, it's almost a matrix idea. This is a prison for your mind. If you mentally reject the things you think are not correct and you hold on to that and you don't, you do not surrender those ideas, then hopefully more people around you will do the same. You can refuse to shop at Walmart. That's a great thing. You can use your dollars in any way you choose. You can do the things like I do where every time I get a chance in a public forum, I speak against the things I think are incorrect. The main thing here is kind of, in my view, the 100th monkey idea. This whole place is built on mind. Every bit of the system we don't appreciate. The misdescription of this world we live in is it's all there for one reason, to affect your mind, to get you to believe in a thing that has no basis in reality. And so for my part, if we try to believe in things that have some basis in reality, that have a moral right to them, hopefully other people will stand up and contribute to that pool. This is a mental existence we live in. Mind drives it all. And that's why we're all constantly being coerced into believing things that are fantasy. That's where I'm coming from.
Right. Yeah. I mean, clearly, and I guess this conversation is sort of touched on this, but it seems to me that we're playing, everything we do is on the playground that we don't own. Even right now, I mean, me talking to you on this live stream via YouTube, we're on the playground that we have no control over, we don't own. It's being transmitted across networks that, again, we don't own and have no control over. How how can we
That's
hope to bring about any kind of substantial change if we don't break away from our opposition's playground? You know what I mean?
well, I mean, yeah, you make a good point. We should absolutely try to do these things, but I would point out, um, if there's any correctness to what we're involved in here, when you walk into a dark room and you light a candle, every bit of darkness flees from that one single candle, and it doesn't really matter the size of the room. It'll be affected.
Mm.
It's a bit like that in my view. And so part of this is hardening yourself to stand firm, to try to be true, to try to benefit others, to try to do the opposite of what the people who put us in the position we find ourselves did. What they did is they lied to us. What they did is they built constructs. They created a school system that doesn't teach you jack about this place we live. It teaches you how to get along in a system. It teaches you nothing about the system. As a matter of fact, it lies about the system all day long. And when I measure these things, there's no correctness to any of that. And so they have a problem. Every time you tell a lie, that lie has to be maintained till the end of time. Look at the Apollo moon landing missions. There's a lie that's got to be maintained till the end of time.
Correct.
Every time some joker like me comes along and manages to do a show or a clip that gets popular, within a very short period of time. Well, I did an episode with Jason pointing out that dinosaurs are a fraud, a provable fraud.
Yeah.
The next day, National Geographic released this nodosaur. So you can see how it works, you see? But
Yeah.
you see, I don't have to release a nodosaur. I don't have to do anything next week. I don't have to do anything next month or next year. All I have to do is try to do what I think is correct. And so the day we did that show, what I thought was correct was to point out we did research, and this is just one of many lies you've been told your whole life.
Right.
But you see, the work on our part took a week of research and a couple hours to record, all the editing. So basically all of a Wednesday and Thursday to record and edit and get it live, and then the prior week to do the research. You know what those guys got to do? They got to produce article after TV show, after kids cartoon, after bogus dinosaur skeleton in a museum somewhere. I mean, it never stops for them.
It never stops.
There is some real truth. Yeah, there is some real truth to the idea that there is no rest for the wicked. And I'll tell you what, when I'm done with this show with you, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go put my head on the pillow and get some rest. So, yeah, man, all hope is not lost here. You just have to understand that you've been convinced of a reality that doesn't exist. It's really, the Matrix is a hell of an allegory for where we find ourselves. It really
sure
is.
I can't tell you how often almost embarrassing, that it's like, well, you know what fits into this scenario? The Matrix. It just seems to work, and it seems to describe what we're experiencing so well. And it's interesting that the very organizations, the very kind of juggernauts that we find ourselves opposing are the people who funded the production of that. Now, why would they do that? I think I have an idea of your answer, but you see what I'm driving at.
You got to realize that systems like the one that we're facing, the people at the top benefit the most. And that's another problem for the people who want to continue this world of illusion we live in, because there's layers and layers of people below them. I mean, consider what comes out of Hollywood. Jason and I did a show where we basically showed outright that Tavistock Institute has psychologists in every production facility. And so when it comes from the writers and all the stuff gets done, right before it's getting ready to go to screen, that final print of the script, Tavistock gets all its programming in there. If you're ever wondering why they say Madame Curie every other Big Bang episode, well, that's why. Think of the amount of work that goes into that. Think about the amount of people who have to do it. Think about the amount of people who are participating that don't even know they're participating. You see, when other people come along with true concern trying to do what they think is right, I'll tell you something. They may not think what they're doing is so sweet and so doable anymore. I'm just pointing out. This stuff benefits few people the most.
Right.
It's the same with all pyramid schemes. So there it is. And, right now, There's an awful lot of cattle out there. I'm one of them, but I'll tell you what, if I'm cattle, I'm tired of looking at the inside of this corral.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Hey, I really appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you being a part of this magazine. It means a lot. I think it means a lot to a lot of people. And the moment I wrap this up, I'm gonna be sprinting to the finish line to get this out to everyone. And again, thank you for dropping in, Crow. I appreciate it.
All right, right on. I would just say this before I go, man. Make this work, Ty. This is a real bellwether. You're pushing in two directions that are going to be interesting to watch for me, anyhow. I'll contribute. I'll do what I can to see where this goes. But if you can find some success there, that's kind of a big deal because that's your playground that you're building, not theirs.
There you go. I like that. Thank you, man.
All right, man. Have a good night.
Thank you. All right, everybody. You heard that was Crow. He's in the magazine. He's going to be in every issue. He's producing top-notch content. As always, everything he does is with 100% dedication and passion. Let's do this. Let's make this happen. I can't do it without you. I can't do it without the community contributing content. I need your input. I need your creativity. I need your passion. Hit flatrevival.com. Send me your thoughts. Send me your ideas at flatrevival@gmail.com. And thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And the first issue of Flat Revival magazine will be out very soon. Thanks, everyone.